everybody. It's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, August 30th, 2020. You know, I don't think that Y&R is keeping up with the social distancing between the actors anymore. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but there were a couple of moments this week where I thought, hey, we're edging back in pretty close to each other. Definitely not 6 feet of distance. For example, Summer and Kyle had their beautiful picnic in the park this week, and they were only about a picnic basket length apart the entire time. Definitely not 6 feet, which is fine. I'm not complaining. I'm just wondering how and why the rules got relaxed, and I'm just noting that the rules seem to have gotten a little more relaxed. Or maybe we are to assume that Hunter King and Michael Milor are a real life couple now. Wouldn't that be something if all of our Y&R actors started hooking up just so that they could get their screen time? Oh yeah, we're partners. Oh. This week, Summer asks Kyle if he would like to cohabitate with her. How romantic. Let's cohabitate. I prefer the term shacking up or living in sin. Any of the above. All of the above. It's all fine with me. Cohabitating sounds a little more cold, though. Kyle had actually brought up the idea to Summer weeks ago that they should move in together, and now she was bringing it up to him, and I thought it was odd that he had this really long pause before he gave Summer his answer yes. And I joked at the website that Summer must be thinking to Kyle in that moment of pause, hey Kyle, it's only a lease. Leases are like marriages. They are meant to be broken. Kyle has no sense of commitment. So it's laughable to me to see him deciding to commit to anything. I mean, a lease, let alone a marriage. Or I don't know, maybe they're actually planning on buying a house together. He did mention a realtor, so I don't know, but sometimes realtors do rentals. I don't know. Are they buying a place together? That is a pretty big commitment. And do you actually think it'll happen? That's the real question, because last I checked, Kyle is living at the hotel, but I think that Summer still has Phyllis's old condo. Last I remember hearing, Summer is still living in that old condo. Who knows? Maybe Y&R will give us a brand new place for the happy couple. But probably not. I have a feeling that there's just way more juicy drama to be had if Kyle and Summer and Lola and Theo are all bumping into each other at the Grand Phoenix Hotel. Wow, this week we finally got confirmation where Theo lives. Never knew that. He's shacking up at the Grand Phoenix. I would have thought he'd have lived above society, considering that's where he spends most of his time. But, oh, I am just so completely charmed by Theo. I found him to be so adorable this week, and I really loved the writing around Theo and Lola's first night together. It started off when they went on their first date. After all this time, can you even believe it? A first date. And it was no big fancy affair. It was a simple, fun food truck fare. That is so perfect. I can literally just imagine them in my mind right now, walking around from food truck to food truck, picking up each little dish, and while they're strolling along through the fairgrounds, they're kind of chopping it up with each other, laughing, joking, being relaxed, having fun, maybe stealing a little kiss here and there. And then when the date comes to a close, they inevitably decide that they would like to take it back to someone's apartment to continue the date, if you know what I mean. But they can't really take it back to Lola's apartment, back to the apartment where Lola and Kyle were just living as husband and wife, right? I mean, that would be weird and uncomfortable for them both to, like, do it in Lola's marriage bed that she shared with Kyle. So Lola starts hinting that she would like to go back to Theo's apartment instead. Only Theo did not see this coming. And Theo, being a single dude, has a single dude room at the Grand Phoenix. I mean, single dudes may have any number of things just lying around. Underwear, beer cans. I don't even know what all could be in there that he might not want Lola to see. That is so relatable to me, too. I mean, when you're dating, you do kind of have to ask yourself, is there any chance this is going to result in coming back to my place? And if so, you have to make it presentable. But I think it speaks so much to where Theo's head was that it didn't even occur to him that it would be taken back to his place. But Theo agrees to let Lola come back to his room. Only he makes her stand outside the front door while he scurries around the room picking up his dirty socks and shirts. So funny. Lola ends up entering the room, giving it her approval, and they sit down and have actually this very private, very intimate, very open, very honest conversation. They were both at first dancing around the topic of wanting to have sex with each other that night, but they both also don't want to take it lightly. I thought it was a funny twist and a very nice character evolution for both Theo and Lola that we would maybe expect for Lola to be the chaste one, for Lola to be the one who would want to put on the brakes, and for Theo to be the fun guy down for sex anytime. But it was the complete opposite. Theo knows that sex is a big deal when you care about somebody. He gets that about Lola, and he wants their first time to be right and to be meaningful, and he doesn't want to mess up the good thing that they have going on right now by sleeping together too soon. But Lola assures him that she knows exactly what she's doing, and more importantly, she knows why she's doing it. It's because she wants to be with him. It has nothing to do with Kyle or her frame of mind or anything. It's purely about Theo and her wanting to be with Theo. So she gets up and she walks over to the door, which I noticed had been suspiciously left open the entire time. Theo and Lola were sitting there having this very personal conversation, and I kept thinking, is anybody going to get up and close the door? And then yes, Lola gets up. She walks over to the door, she pushes it shut, and we just see that do not disturb sign swinging in the breeze. Oh, I know that there were a lot of Theo and Lola fans who were so disappointed to not see Theo and Lola's first lovemaking. And I know I was disappointed too, but I feel okay about it. I really do. I think it still fits the two characters in a weird way because there is something about Theo and Lola together that feels super private. And I was happy to let them have their privacy. Just this once. I would also like to pay housekeeping to keep an ear on the door and report to me all of the naughty details, because I do feel more intrigued than ever to find out exactly what happened behind those doors. Lola was back at work the next morning, and Mariah comes back into the kitchen to talk to her, and Mariah surmised that Lola had slept over at Theo's last night, and Lola did seem to report that she enjoyed herself. Oh, it was good. She felt good. But Lola is having a hard time divorcing the idea of sex and the act of sex from her feelings of love. Like, sex and love are the same, right? No, wrong. I mean, in Lola's marriage to Kyle, which was her only sexual experience, she made love while being in love. And now here she is entering into this casual sexual relationship with Theo, where either of them could cut and run at any time. Although I'd argue that, I mean, that's not so different from what ultimately happened in her marriage to Kyle. I mean, he cut and run anytime, but Lola was not expecting that. She thought sex was something that happened in love, and so she was able to give herself to Kyle. Although I think they did have sex before they got married, but it seemed to be with the understanding that they were moving toward marriage. But for Lola, it just seems very difficult to separate the idea of sex and love, and that's just it. I really think that's the essence of everything. Lola gave herself to Kyle in every way, and he slaughtered her. And now I think she just doesn't know how to behave to protect herself in this new relationship with Theo. It's odd for her. It feels unnatural for her to now go out and treat dating and sex like they're just these two easy things that you do when she's already been married and divorced. I mean, this is something that a lot of young women these days experience before they get to the marriage part. Lola kind of did it backwards. And I really especially appreciated Mariah's advice to Lola. I thought this was a great conversation, and I thought that it was some advice that probably a lot of young women viewers really should hear. I kind of wish that I would have heard the message that Mariah was giving to Lola when I was younger. Just because something feels good doesn't mean it's right. That's for you to decide. And you can always change your mind. You always have a choice. You always have a choice. That's a message that needs to be heard by, I mean, honestly, men and women. You always have a choice. Just because Lola slept with Theo doesn't mean that she has to keep sleeping with him, and doesn't mean that she has to feel obligated to him in any way. But it also does not give her permission to treat Theo like crap either. It's not okay to just be a player or somebody who's insensitive to someone else's emotions. Lola overhears Summer and Mariah talking about the fact that Summer and Kyle are getting ready to move in together. Hey, great job of keeping that under wraps. It was pretty well acknowledged by both Kyle and Summer and Mariah that they should everybody just hush about this. We do not need to be talking about y'all's personal relationship in Lola's place of business. Fine, you want to move in together, but don't rub it in her face. Flash forward to 5 seconds later, it's getting rubbed in Lola's face, whether she likes it or not, or whether it was intentional or not. And it wasn't intentional, but the effect was that Lola overheard it. It hit home for her, and I'm sure that for her it makes the finality of her marriage much more real. He's moved on, and now it has this tangible manifestation. They're living together. And instead of reaching out to Theo, when Theo asked Lola later if she wanted to talk, she has a right to not talk if she doesn't want to, but Lola, big time, coiled up. I think Lola just found herself feeling vulnerable. She realized she was feeling vulnerable, and so she just bounced into self-protection mode. That's so common. It's so completely common. It's such a human reaction. I think that's why this story appeals to me so much. Like there's human emotions to dig into here. But on the other side of that equation is Theo. Theo is over here feeling insecure anyway. He doesn't want his relationship with Lola to be about Kyle or to be connected to Kyle in any way. And now all he knows is that Lola had some conversation with Kyle, and now she's pulling away from him. I think Theo is in the position in his relationship with Lola that we're led to believe that Lola was in with Kyle, where Theo is afraid that he likes Lola more than she likes him, just like Lola found out the hard way that she loved Kyle more than Kyle loved her. And that's an awful position to be in. And rather than choosing to be for Theo what Kyle was not for her, she retreats into herself, and she is suddenly cold and distant with Theo, and it just leaves him wondering what happened. Lola just pulls away, gives him no answers, and is completely selfish about it. She learned that little trick from Kyle, didn't she? Just being completely selfish about it. Who hasn't been in that position before, though, where somebody pulls away and they just give you nothing and you just don't know? It's worse than knowing. I'd rather know what happened than not know what happened. It's an awful thing to leave in someone's mind, and that's exactly what Lola did to Theo. Lola! Lola is such a complicated young woman. I think maybe she's a little bit of an overthinker, and I can also relate to that. She's come such a long way from the days where she was having a fit about the expensive Christmas present that Kyle gave to her. And now here she is all this time later, again, having another one of her Lola fits and huffing off. It's like she's so mature and so sophisticated in so many ways, but then I'm reminded of how young and inexperienced she is. And I think that's what the essence of this boils down to, is Lola's inexperience. She just is in uncharted territory. She doesn't know what she's doing. But I nevertheless believe that she will come around. I think she will figure it out. I think she will realize that she was rude to Theo, and I think she's going to apologize profusely to him. And, I think they're going to have like a long session of talking it out. But will it be too late? That's the question on the table. Because just like Lola, Theo has the option to change his mind here. You always have a choice. And Theo might just choose to back off and cut his losses. Or he could do something stupid and blow it all forever. I don't know. I think this is most certainly going to be the first big test of Theo and Lola's relationship. And the question is, can they survive it? Maybe I was a bit harsh last week about John's message to Jack from beyond the grave. I still think it's cheesy. And I still think that it's something John Abbott would never have said. But I do appreciate that it seems to be headed in a direction of giving Jack a story. Jack has really taken John's message to heart, and he had a heart-to-heart with Tracy on Friday, talking about how alone he feels and how much he still wants to find love. I mean, Jack has always wanted love. As long as I've known him, Jack has loved, and wanted it. He's wanted the love of a woman. He's wanted the love of his father, and more recently, the love of his mother. I think Jack is just someone who craves love. And now here he is, later on in his life, and he still hasn't managed to fulfill his main desire. Now, I just would love to see Jack in love again. I think that Peter Bergman is at his best when he is playing a romantic, sentimental Jack. And a big, fabulous romance would be just the thing to settle Jack into a good place after all of these years of searching. But see, that's the thing that still bugs me about this writer. I think that we have been searching for Jack's change, some sort of big change, for years now. I mean, this writer has been teasing it. Remember when Jack went to Sedona to find himself? Or remember when Jack was having those dreams about Dina and she was coming to him and asking him what it was he really wanted? Like, we've been stuck in a state of Jack on the verge for so long now that everything about Jack and the Abbotts and Dina has felt like an Arrested Development. So go ahead and give Jack a new quest to find love, Y&R. But can we actually get to it this time? Billy and Victoria have an emotional breakthrough moment this week. I guess Victoria just had that moment when you realize that it takes more energy to be mad at someone than you're willing to give, and you're just tired of making that investment. It's just easier to forgive them. So, hey, they made some amends this week, and it was all brought to us by the soapiest of soap tricks, the sick child trope. That'll always bring them back together, the sick child. Billy was spending some daddy-daughter time with Katie at the park, and she got stung by a bee and started to swell up, couldn't breathe, so Billy rushes her over to the New Hope Clinic. Now, wait a minute here. I thought that the New Hope Clinic was supposed to be for the low-income residents of Genoa Cities who live in the New Hope apartments, not for the Richie Riches and the Funky Bunch. I see what you're doing, Y&R. See, this is what it is. The New Hope Clinic all along was Y&R's clever way of downsizing the hospital set. GC Memorial is gone, gone, gone. It is all New Hope from here on out. They just erased the part about how it was supposed to be for the New Hope residents. It's for everybody now. I guess healthcare is the great equalizer. And I guess so is the desire for revenge. So it turns out. Everybody, rich and poor, we all want revenge. First and foremost right now, Victoria Newman. Oh, I am so surprised by these poll results from the past week. I asked you guys to weigh in on Victoria Newman's approval rating, and it was really close. Oh my goodness. 56% of you, the majority, give Victoria Newman your approval. Wow, Victoria Newman currently at a 56% approval rating. But that's still so close, 44% disapprove. I did vote disapprove, but I feel bad about it now because the approval, the voice of the approving people really kind of started to convince me this week. And I want good things for Victoria. But at the same time, it's tough to swallow. I mean, Victoria decided to take her newfound forgiveness for Billy, and she decided to extend him the proverbial olive branch in the form of a juicy story about a murder and a cover-up involving Victor and Adam Newman. I see, I approve of the Newman Enterprises tactics, but this is a little rough. Billy was blown away by Victoria's story and her decision to share it with him. What I will give to Victoria here was that I actually really, really liked the way that Victoria explained her motives to Billy. She said to Billy, okay, when I sold off those 2 Newman Enterprises assets, I assumed that everyone would think that my father would be mad at me. But there was always this other possibility in the back of my mind that was still on the table. And it was the possibility that my father would be proud of me for what I did. That he would see it as proof that I belonged in the CEO chair, that I was the heir apparent. But that's not what happened. I'm obviously on my own now. I can feel that the old guard is coalescing at the company and wanting to go with Victor Newman, wanting him to put his daughter into check. So Victoria realizes that she is on her own at Newman Enterprises now with no one to back her up. So Victoria tells Billy that she considers that this move she's making against Victor right now to just merely be a move against her competition. This is a competition now to her, and all she's doing is competing. Doesn't matter that it's her father. I just thought that was such a great piece of dialogue and a great explanation right there. The problem is, what Victoria is doing doesn't really hurt Victor as much as it hurts Adam. It's hurting Victor by hurting Adam, but that's it. I think this is, I mean, the Victor part is hooray for her, but the Adam part is a really big casualty of the war, and that's probably the part where Billy comes in. That's the part where Billy starts to lick his chops, because Billy has wanted Adam to suffer for a long, long time. In fact, I laughed because Victoria was explaining to Billy about how Adam had buried the memory of killing AJ Montalvo, and Billy was really quick to remind Victoria that it wasn't too long ago that he tried to run Adam over with a car and forgot all about it. That totally took me aback, because you know who else forgot about that? Me! Totally forgot about that. So I thought that was a really great tie-in. Oh, I don't know. This is a bad idea for Billy too, but nothing's going to stop him from doing it. I mean, he's got his tunnel vision, and I think he's going to take the story, he's going to run with it at any cost. And I think that Victoria's forgiveness of Billy, that sudden forgiveness of Billy in the New Hope Medical Clinic, I think that is meant to be a signal to the audience that Wild Man Billy is back. And if Victoria is okay with it, then we should be okay with it too. Lily doesn't seem 100% okay with it. Lily appreciates Billy's wild at heart spirit, but it's a lot of work keeping that spirit from causing trouble for their new business and for her new livelihood. I mean, this business is the only thing that Lily's got going on. She does not need Billy screwing it up. So Lily actually sat down with Amanda this week and grilled her about her relationship with Billy. Lily was getting all up in it, wondering what the deal was between those two, noticing the looks and whatnot, and seemingly looking for an ally. I think that Lily wanted to get Amanda on her side because, you know, it takes a village to keep Billy Abbott from spinning out of control. And Amanda seems to feel energized in that role in a weird way. The role of keeping Billy Abbott from spinning out of control. That is so irritating to me on a personal level. I just, people that expect other people to keep them in check. No, I require self-sufficiency at minimum. That's my bare minimum for even allowing myself to, like, become involved with anybody. You just, at minimum, have to be able to take care of yourself. And Billy can't do that. He's always looking for somebody else to hold the leash. And Amanda seems to like it. That's the thing. Amanda seems to like doing it. Amanda let her feelings for Billy slip a little bit this week in front of Nate, of all people, the guy she's trying to date. She was sitting there on a date with Nate, describing what an evil genius Billy is. Oh, and oh my gosh, you could just see the glimmer in her eyes as she was talking. Amanda finds Billy incredibly exciting. Amanda finds Billy to be totally hot. But she knows that he's too risky for her. Yeah, that's the thing. The bad boy can be hot. But you gotta know when it's like, okay, you need to be hot at a distance. If you touch the fire, you're gonna get burned. I think that Amanda is a little bit of a thrill seeker, but not as much as Billy is. So she would rather play it safe with someone like Nate. But it's clear that Nate does not light Amanda's fire in the way that Billy does. And if that's the case, I have to say right now, I really wish that Amanda would just let Nate go. We have been here before. Amanda and Nate dated months ago. They decided to toss the friendship label on it, and now they've picked it up again, but I don't think either of them are in a different place than they were before. Amanda is still wrapped up in Billy's life. It's just in a new way. It's just veiled as business. And Nate is not about to take any chances with his heart right now. You can tell. Nate's feeling vulnerable. His fiance, the love of his life, off screen, died years ago, and he has not been serious with anyone since. I mean, there was Abby, but that didn't work out. I mean, Nate's kind of in that same place that Lola is, always reaching out and always getting burned. And if Amanda is not totally into Nate, then maybe he's right to keep his guard up around her and about her. Nate was really curt with Elena this week when Elena started asking questions about he and Amanda's relationship and dating, which admittedly was pretty nosy. Elena's been pretty nosy on the topic of Nate and Amanda. It's like every time Nate and Elena are together, Elena is probing him for information about his relationship, and this time Nate just said, "I think you're asking too many personal questions." That's fair. That is totally fair. You have a work relationship, and yes, you're kind of by family, you're sort of like related in a weird way. You're in the same circles for sure, but I mean, I can understand Nate not wanting to be grilled about his relationship when he's trying to work. And it really took Elena back that he would say that. I mean, you could see in her face that she was hurt about it, but it also didn't deter her either. She just kept right on at it. And that makes me wonder if Elena is subconsciously pushing for Nate and Amanda because she thinks that if Nate is taken and if she is taken, then any playfulness or anything, any fun that is going on between them can be classified as friendship, when maybe deep in both of their minds, they know it's more than friendship. I don't know. These couples are so messy. Amanda, Nate, Devon, Elena, we're tossing Billy back in there this week. I am absolutely interested to see how things shake out with these couples, especially after seeing that preview for next week. Nate, noticing that Amanda has the same blood type as Hillary? B negative? Well, I'm telling you, I'm gonna be positive that Amanda's gonna turn out to be Hillary's long lost twin sister. Hooray, finally. And then Devon is gonna start looking at Amanda like she's family. He's gonna see her as family, and he's gonna start pulling her in close. So Elena better not start showing any signs that she sees Nate as anything other than just a friend, or she is going to push Devon into Amanda's arms. She's going to make Devon have that little seed of doubt and feel like he's not secure in their relationship, and he's going to go right to Amanda for a chat sesh, and those sparks are going to just develop the way they did before. Oh, I'm for it. I'm still for Amanda and Devon. Yeah. I mean, I like Elena and Devon too, but yeah. We'll see. Amanda was seeming a little interested in Devon this week because they were having a chat at Society, and Amanda was saying to Devon that he was Genoa City's most eligible bachelor. Like, I think Devon was saying that Amanda was dating Genoa City's most eligible bachelor in Nate, and Amanda goes, "Didn't you mean second most eligible bachelor behind you?" Hot stuff. And Devon was like, "I'm taken." But I don't know, there was something about it. Something about the way that scene went down that just made me so curious. And then at the same time, Elena was at the clinic telling Nate that she wishes she could clone him. She wishes there was a few more Nates walking around out there, which is exactly what I was thinking, by the way. I wish there were a few more Nates walking around out there. Then we could all have one. One for Amanda, one for Elena, and one for me. Years ago, we lost the Genoa City Athletic Club, but now we have the Genoa City Escape Club. All right. And it has a sliding fee scale so that the working class women can rub elbows in luxury with the rich and famous women like Nikki Newman. Oh. What do you guys think of Escape Club? Would you want to become a member? That's our poll question of the week. I thought we would have a fun one this week. Would you want to become an Escape Club member? You can go to yrchat.com to let me know if you would be all in for this little secret club. Now, it is a ladies' club, but let's say it's open to everybody. Would you want to do it if the price was right? They said sliding scale. So let's assume it's a reasonable amount for you. It's maybe a little more than you might spend on yourself normally. Maybe a little. It's a little extravagant, but would you do it? That's the question. I mean, I know myself, I wouldn't do it. I'm bad at spending money on myself. I don't like to do it. It's hard for me, but I still think it was a really fun episode, and I would still like to see more ladies become members because I thought it was a really clever way to bring our Genoa City ladies together. It's been a while since we've had the girls' nights. And I feel like maybe the guys need an escape club or something too. Like, I don't know, was it a cigar club? No, the athletic club. We need the athletic club back for the guys. Because I think we had a little poker thing going on for a while for the guys. We need something for the guys too. Because this is a theme that people over and over again say they really like. They really like seeing friendships and girl time and guy time. And those are things that help people connect with the shows. We like seeing them hang out. It makes it more relatable. So I think this is a really great step in that direction. And when these writers do something right, I want to make sure to shout it from the rooftops. And I do think that this was totally right. even if I personally would probably not shell out the cash. Maybe you would. Maybe you need and like a little luxury. Let's say it's your local hotel. You just got to go down there and do it. I'm curious to see what the poll results on that will be. I mean, it just in terms of the show, though, I think that it can be done again and again because it doesn't really even matter what the individual fantasies were. I mean, they were great, but it was much more about bringing the cast together and creating some intimate conversations between them. I mean, I had tears in my eyes and as Lily and Tracy were talking about Colleen over high tea. I mean, first of all, you know I love tea. I would have my fingers all over those teacups and teapots and finger sandwiches. Oh, that is adorable. But more importantly, I just felt so connected to Lily and Tracy in those moments. Tracy was describing Colleen's interests, wondering where Colleen's life would have led, what she would be doing today. And Tracy was even talking about Colleen's earliest days as a dancer, and then she became a college student and a lover of art history. And after seeing Colleen in the classics, those memories really hit home with me all the more. I did that research. We did those Y&R chats. I remember her art history phase. I remember her coming home for the first time when Brad was trying to move on with Ashley and Colleen was wanting to get to know Brad, and she was a little dancer dancing at the party. I think it was at Jack's wedding or something. Oh, yes. I was just there in those scenes. And when Lily told Tracy that Tracy was like a mother figure to her, I also thought that was so lovely. I really hope that Y&R continues to play up the mother-daughter-like relationship between Tracy and Lily, especially now that Tracy has decided to take the job at ChanceCom. Yay! I knew it was going to go that way. The second they started talking about it again, I was like, yeah, she's going to say yes. And I'm so happy she did. The other thing that came out of that conversation with Lily and Tracy that flashed me back to the classics. Get this. Lily's great Aunt Mamie cared for Tracy like a mother in the late 80s when she was pregnant and getting married. And then Tracy later, supposedly, cared for Lily after Lily's mother had died. That would have been a really great connection to make sooner. It's like in the family. Tracy needs to mention Aunt Mamie to Lily. That's another connecting thread to them. It's not just Colleen, it's Aunt Mamie too. I don't know if they're maybe just afraid to mention that, but that would go so far with me. I think that would be so great. I just think that's a great connection. I wish I would have made it sooner, and I wish Y&R would make it a more frequent part of their relationship. There were just so many comfortable and casual relationships that came out of this episode. Just like having conversations. Amanda and Elena being girlfriends after their pedicures, and Elena saying that she feels insecure about her feet. That is so relatable. Feet are hard to love. Well, except for Amanda's. Apparently, they're perfect. Doesn't that figure? I wanted Elena to just splash a drink in Amanda's face right then and there. Elena's like, I have ugly feet. And Amanda's like, really? Mine are perfect. Splash. Oh. But Amanda opened up too, and she said that she's still carrying all of the baggage from her stalker. And she also knows that someday she's going to have to deal with it all over again. So she is right now just throwing herself into work and also trying to start up this relationship with Nate, which isn't even, I don't know, like she said she doesn't even know if it is a relationship because it's so new, but it's not new. Again, it's just, they've been here before. It's this, right, they drag things out where they don't need to be dragged, and then they move quick on things that need to be dragged out. When Amanda told Elena that her and Nate had only been on one date, I was like, what? Y'all have been dating on and off for nearly a year now. I also really liked Abby's whole security camera adventure. I'm glad that Phyllis found a way to involve Abby in a way that kept their rivalry light. You know, I mean, it had some good intentions, and also I'm realizing that maybe the tone of Abby and Phyllis's rivalry all along has been something that's meant to be silly and unfounded and just entertaining, and I think it accomplishes all three of those things. Phyllis knew that Abby was going to be suspicious of the invitation, so Phyllis made sure that Abby had a little bit of fun investigating what Phyllis might be up to. Abby likes a challenge, and that's what Phyllis gave her. In so many ways, Phyllis seems to understand Abby, and Abby seems to understand Phyllis. And they're also entangled in this partnership over the hotel now. I mean, Phyllis runs it, but Abby's still an investor, so Phyllis still needs to keep Abby happy, and Abby needs to protect her investment by keeping Phyllis happy. They're kind of stuck together. And on Friday, Phyllis even let slip to Nick that she kind of respects Abby for making the decision to break away from the Newman family and to be her own person, and choosing to not sacrifice herself upon the altar of all things Victor Newman's messy life. Oh. Well, there were two other fantasies. Summer had the shortest camera time for her fantasy. It was just Summer in her PJs, like doing the Dance Dance Revolution game in the hotel suite. There were some implied snacks. And then there was Nikki's fantasy, which I don't know why, but Nikki's fantasy connected the least for me. Phyllis apparently had a piano hauled up to the 4th floor. That was a feat in itself. But then I guess Phyllis had a new piece of music commissioned for Nikki to play. It was called the Sonnet for Nikki. So I guess Phyllis had someone write a sonnet. Is that, no, sonnet's not right. Sonata. A sonata for Nikki. Is that right? Like Phyllis had someone write a song for Nikki to play? I mean, I guess that sounds sweet. And the set was beautiful. I have to give it that. It was just beautiful Nikki and her beautiful hair, which, by the way, Melody Thomas Scott finally made a statement this week about the fact that she was wearing a wig, and, of course, the fact that it was just that the hair and makeup team weren't there to help her. She wanted a quick solution. She threw on a wig, and then everybody had an uproar, but she said, don't worry, the hair's coming back, and then, lo and behold, this week, the hair's back. The hair's good. The hair's on track. We can all breathe a sigh of relief. All is right with the world and Nikki's hair. It looked beautiful. She was sitting there playing her piano, surrounded by roses. The whole room was very dim. I kept thinking, I don't know how she can see the sheet music or her fingers, but it was a gorgeous scene. But I guess the reason why it wasn't my favorite is because I always still think about how hard it must be for Nikki to play the piano with her MS. It's probably because we had the classic episodes for all those months, and I was just reminded that, I mean, even on her and Victor's wedding day, it was a big thing for her to play the piano. I remember there was a concert that she was, we weren't sure if she was going to be able to play because of her MS. I mean, so what if Nikki was having an MS flare-up on the day of the escape club and she found it difficult to play? Then it's not really an escape, is it? I don't know. I'm overthinking it. Maybe Phyllis just should have had a backup Dance Dance Revolution pad for Nikki, just in case the piano thing didn't work out. I think I might have liked that even more. Just Nikki cutting loose on a plastic dance floor. Adam has a major breakthrough this week. Adam remembers being back at the farm the day of AJ's death, being a little boy, hiding under the table, while Hope's sensible flats argued with A.J. Montalvo's angry boots. I don't know why, but I was just obsessed with Hope's sensible flats. It's very Hope. I felt I was really right back there with Hope's sensible flats shuffling around the farmhouse. But Adam remembers being a little boy, overhearing this argument while he was under the table, no one knowing that he was there. And then as soon as AJ turns around to leave after threatening Hope and after threatening her son, Adam remembers jumping out from under the table to defend his family. He remembers lunging at AJ. He remembers tackling AJ to the ground. And he remembers gnawing AJ's throat out like a wild animal. He just... And then the guy was dead. Adam with the blood all around his mouth, and then he just scurries off into the darkness. That's the real truth of how AJ died. I think part of this is just a false memory, because I remember what really happened, and it was like, and then a blood mouth, and then scurrying off out to the barn. Oh, it's my alternate view. I really appreciated seeing the farmhouse this week. In a way, I feel like this was Y&R saying, Allie's gonna love this storyline, and ultimately we're gonna take her to the farmhouse and she's gonna freak out about how great it was. I mean, I imagined that it was the 90s, and I actually was at Hope's farmhouse, which, by the way, is something that we never did see in all of these classic episodes. Not once in 4 months of flashbacks did we ever see a glimpse of Hope's original farmhouse. And although what we saw this week was a reimagining of Hope's farmhouse, looked nothing like the original, I really thought that all of the details that were put into it brought a total sense of it coming to life. I really, even though I know it didn't look like Hope's farmhouse, I felt like it had the essence of Hope's farmhouse. I loved the pictures of Grandma and Grandpa on the wall. I loved that mudroom bench. I loved the lace tablecloth. You know, I could bust open my cabinets right now and show you a lace tablecloth just like that. Y'all probably have one too. Ugh. It was so good. I really enjoyed being back there. Early in the week, Adam had some bad flashes. He was still in Genoa City, dreaming and having some audio coming back to him. And he was just so disturbed by what was starting to come back to him that he went to go see Sharon. And then he ended up running out of Sharon's house and just leaving everybody wondering where he could be, especially leaving Chelsea wondering where he could be. He was gone so long, he didn't come home that night, and Chelsea had to go to Sharon to find out what had happened and where he might be. It was really obvious. First of all, I'm surprised that Chelsea waited all night to go to Sharon's house. And second of all, it seems obvious to me that Adam would want to go back to the scene of the incident, like back under the table, to try to recreate and therefore remember what had happened. But Chelsea did not get it. She's so out of the loop at this point. She is so clueless and no one is helping her. Sharon has this, she's bound. She's bound by doctor-client confidentiality to not share the details of Adam's case with her. And that's just making Chelsea feel more and more isolated. It's not helping the situation to have an unruly Chelsea floating around on the outskirts. I mean, Sharon is kind of isolating Sharon and Adam are both kind of isolating Chelsea to the point where she's going to become a problem factor instead of a helpful factor. I don't know why they don't just incorporate her. But it's making Chelsea really uncomfortable. She goes to Sharon's house after Adam's been out all night. She gets really angry with Sharon. She tells Sharon that this is exactly what she was afraid of, that these therapy sessions were going to end up doing Adam more harm than good. But I think that what Chelsea is more afraid of is losing Adam to Sharon. Chelsea made that point perfectly clear when she asked to meet with Ray. It's like nobody else is giving her any information, so she asks to meet with Ray, and she gives him this song and dance about how, oh, she's not coming from a place of jealousy or insecurity. Oh, no, 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 no. She just wants Sharon to stay the hell away from her fiance, and she wants Ray to feel the same. And Ray did show some signs this week of cracking just a little bit, because Ray did tell Sharon that he's afraid of losing her. And the more Sharon travels down this rabbit hole of Adam's misery, that the more he gets concerned about that. So Ray actually decides to go with Sharon to Kansas. Sharon says it's ridiculous because Sharon's kind of confiding in Ray about where Adam is, but she's not confiding in Chelsea the exact same details. Why is it okay by doctor-patient confidentiality for Sharon to tell Ray that Adam has gone to Kansas, but not tell Chelsea? Sharon's picking and choosing. I guess it doesn't matter. Ray apparently went with Sharon to Kansas to look for Adam, and yet we didn't see him there. Sharon feels bound to not discuss anything about Adam with Chelsea, but then she would go ahead and let Ray come along with her. If anyone was going to be a +1 on Victor's private jet going to find Adam, why not Chelsea? It seems like Chelsea is intentionally being kept out of the loop. Like, I get that Sharon doesn't want to betray Adam's confidence, but it's almost as if Sharon doesn't trust that Chelsea has Adam's best interest at heart. I don't know. Maybe that's because Chelsea usually has her own best interest at heart, but still, it's a double standard. Chelsea is being pushed aside, but Chelsea's not going to be pushed aside without a fight. Victor is the one who told Chelsea where Adam is, that he went to Kansas, because, everybody else was able to figure out instantly that Adam would go to Kansas. But Chelsea is so freaking out of the loop that she's about ready to book a flight to Vegas. She knows what he's dealing with. If he's going to go anywhere, he's going to Kansas. You got married in the farmhouse. You've vacationed there many times. He's trying to remember a traumatic experience that happened at the farmhouse. Why would it occur to you that he could be at the farmhouse? She needed Victor to tell her that? I don't know. She got on the right track. She showed up in Kansas, and it was right after Adam had his full memory breakthrough. Chelsea busted up in there, and she gave Sharon the reddest, meanest eyes that I think I have ever seen. And then Chelsea just dragged him out of there and presumably back to Genoa City next week. Ew. Ew. And Adam just kind of shook his head like he got caught and went along with it. Oh, man. I don't know. I'm worried now. It worries me how Adam is going to process everything now. Like, he repressed it before it was so bad, but he has to deal with it now, all these years later. And Adam is now recalling not only physically what happened that night, but he's also recalling how he felt that night too. He told Sharon that right before he killed AJ, he remembers feeling like he wanted that guy dead. Meaning, it was not an accident. He wanted him dead. He wanted to just gnaw his throat out like a wild animal. So, nobody can prove that, though, unless Adam admits it. And it was so long ago, and Adam was so young that it just tells me that there's not going to be any legal repercussions here. Adam's not going to go to jail. Even if Billy's story gets published, which it will, Adam's not going to go to jail. The repercussions of all of this are going to be personal. I think that Adam is going to start to see himself as a bad seed. That he was bad from birth, just born bad. And then I think it's going to cause him to use this incident with AJ Montalvo to cite the origin point of all of the terrible things that he's done in his life. And that might start to make him feel unfit to become Chelsea's husband and unfit to become a good father to Connor. I don't know. I think there's a really good chance that on the other side of this trauma, that Adam will become a different man completely with a different girlfriend. I expect the best, but I guard against the worst. One thing you should know about me, Jack, is that I expect the best, but I guard against the worst. Oh, it was Tracy who said it, and you guys all knew it. And you probably knew I would pick it because it was a Tracy quote. I can't help it. I identify with Tracy, and I thought that was such a good, smart comment and a good, good way to live. Expect the best, be positive, but guard for the worst. Oh, congratulations, Daisy, Jamie, Henry, Tina Cole, Linda A, Heather, Nia, Victoria, Ambreen, and Sharita. Yay! There's some names in there that I haven't heard in a while. People are coming back. People are coming back now that the new episodes are here. Maybe it took a couple weeks to get back the need to comment, but I can tell. I can tell folks are coming back. I need to know where Anna is. It does bother me because I feel like Anna's my resident John Abbott expert, and I haven't heard from Anna in a while. And I'm needing that backup on my whole rant about John and all of the retroactive stuff. And so Anna, if you're out there, come comment. Well, let's pick a new Who Said It quote for the week. There were no other contenders. This is the one. Are you ready? Who said it? Definitely an elephant. Who said it? Definitely an elephant. If you think you know, go to yrchat.com to leave your guess. And if you get it right, I will give you your shout out on next week's Y&R Chat. All right, let's get down to the nitty gritty of some of your comments for the week. Diana says, Lola sure seems to misplace her bra often. She asked Theo to help her locate it. And as I mentioned previously, Lola's bra was under Arturo's couch when he had Abby over to his place. I don't know what Lola does. Yeah, Diana, why is Lola always flinging her bra all over the place? That's funny. I never would have made that connection. That made me laugh. Diana also says, the fact that Lola didn't want to go to her place tells me that we won't be seeing her place for a very long time, or maybe not ever. That set may be gone. I also think Lola's excuse for not wanting to go to her place because Kyle used to live there is a little lame. All the more reason to have Theo there to show that she is over Kyle and has a new man in her life. Oh, yeah, you're right. That set's gone. There was this weird part of me that thought, I wonder if Summer and Kyle are going to somehow shimmy their way into that apartment. That doesn't seem right. That's such a cute little apartment, too, above the coffee house, and it's above the coffee house. Maybe just give it to Mariah. Maybe Mariah and Lola could be roommates. Yeah, we need to see that apartment more. Yes, Mariah and... oh, no, that's right. Mariah lives with Tessa. What am I thinking? But we never see Mariah and Tessa's apartment. Oh, shoot. Well, maybe we need to just give Lola a roommate. Is there any other girls in town who might be looking for a place? I don't know. But Sharita says, I get Lola's excuse. Technically, she's still married and there's a lot of memories together. I would think that she would just move into a new Kyle-free place. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe Lola just needs to move out. And then Mariah and Tessa can live above the coffee house. That's perfect. Yes, that's perfect. I love Lola, but maybe she needs a new Kyle-free place. And then since Mariah is working at the coffee house a lot, I think, right? Isn't she helping out at the coffee house while Sharon's too busy to work at the coffee house? But she's too sick to work the coffee house. But she could still work Adam's recovery process. That's a little less. It's more low impact for Sharon to work with Adam than to work at the coffee house. So we just move Mariah and Tessa above coffee house. Mariah can do the business of the coffee house on a daily basis, and then Tessa can play on the patio with her guitar and her songs. Yes, there we go. There we go. Lola gets a new place where she can, I don't even need to have her living with Theo. No, she can have a new place. Maybe she's going to move in with Ray. Maybe Lola and Ray will become roomies when Sharon goes back to Adam. Oh, speaking of Mariah, Sherrod says, so let me understand this, Y&R writers. Mariah, who recently cheated on Tessa, is not being shown trying to get her trust back, but instead having her randomly insert herself into other people's business. The girl needs to sort out her own issues before talking crap to anybody else. Summer was correct to let her know that it was none of her business what was going on between her and Kyle. I love me some Cameron and Taraya, as well as Kate, but Mariah is getting on my last nerve. Oh, yeah. I mean, Mariah's been stuck in that let me give everybody advice mode for a while now. But I did hear just a little something that next week there's going to be some Mariah and Tessa story. I don't know if it's going to be good, though. Something about Mariah making a decision that might affect her and Tessa. I don't know. I don't know any more details, but I think we're going to see Mariah and Tessa next week. Jamie says, I love the pace that they're moving with Adam's recovering his memories. I mean, he's already recovered them. He knows what happens. They didn't drag their feet on this, and I, for one, appreciate it so much. Yeah, you know, I like the pace, yes, and I like the farmhouse. So other than the fact that I'm getting the vibes that this is going to lead to something romantic with Adam and Sharon, and I'm not ready for that, other than that part, other than Adam and Sharon part, I think it's been an interesting story. I mean, maybe if the COVID stuff hadn't happened, this is where it would have led, and we wouldn't have all this suspicion around the relationship, and Chelsea wouldn't be being pushed aside quite so much. It's just, you can see that that's what the writers are doing, that this is leading to an Adam and Sharon reunion, and it is related to the fact that the actors are together. It just is. And there's something about that transparency that I don't like. There's, you know, I don't know. I just don't want the storyline to be dictated by what's going on in the actors' lives. And I don't feel like we got there with the story naturally. There's just no reason to be isolating Chelsea this much. There's no reason that Chelsea, who has gone through helping her son through a trauma, there's no reason that Chelsea shouldn't be and couldn't be involved in helping her husband go through remembering a childhood trauma. It's just, those dots aren't connecting with me, but there are some dots that, you know, I think are connecting. Superplex says Chelsea has a right to be on that plane. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I wish Sharon would have involved Chelsea and said, hey, you know what, you love Adam, let's work together. I mean, Adam's not going to turn around and sue Sharon for breaking the doctor-patient confidentiality or whatever. I mean, the fact that Sharon is taking such a hard line with Chelsea and then also actively deceiving her, acting like Sharon didn't know he went to Kansas when she darn well knew he did. It's not a great approach. I'm not sure how great Sharon is at this therapy thing. Yeah. T. Nicole says, I realized that what's bothering me about Sharon helping out Adam as his therapist, I was full on Team Sharon when they introduced her breast cancer storyline. But after seeing Sharon not tell Chelsea, Adam's fiance, where she thinks Adam is, and dropping everything to find him in Kansas, it's making me frustrated with her character and not want to be completely on Team Sharon. I want to see family and friends support Sharon as if we see setbacks and struggles she faces because of the reality of the disease, not because she's entangled into a stressful situation for a murder story with another character. Yes. Oh my gosh. And on that note, my favorite comment of the week comes from Gary, who says, the heart of Sharon's cancer storyline is definitely in remission. Isn't that the freaking truth right there? The heart of Sharon's cancer storyline is in remission. Because we started out on Sharon's cancer storyline with heart. I mean, we were engaged in her progress. It was about Sharon and her being strong and going through and conquering something for herself, conquering her own body. When your own body is working against you, needing to conquer it. I mean, that is deep. And it was really impactful to me at first. But now the heart of that story has gone into remission. And as T. Nicole said, we are just busy inserting Sharon into somebody else's murder storyline. It's not smooth. It's not natural. Not in any way. T. Nicole also says, I feel so much for Ray. The frustration he must be feeling with Sharon helping out Adam, but he's trying to be calm and supportive as he can be. I truly don't get any vibe from Ray that he's jealous of Adam, but that he's scared about how these therapy sessions will affect Sharon's health. Yeah, I know, that's the thing. And then even the fact that that Ray, all of a sudden, at the end of the week, had that turn where he was, right before she left for Kansas, and he started saying, I don't know, I'm worried about you, like it was after Chelsea planted the seed of doubt in Ray's head. Then Ray turns around and all of a sudden he's showing little bits of signs of insecurity because he wasn't before. I mean, on Monday, Tuesday, T. Nicole, I responded to your comment and I was like, yes, I don't even catch a hint of Ray feeling insecure or jealous about Adam in any way. And then Chelsea gets a hold of him a little later in the week and all of a sudden it's, I mean, Y&R knows what they're doing. They know that we're speculating about this leading to an Adam Sharon relationship. It's by design. I mean, it's very obvious at this point. The only thing it's not is natural. Ugh. Ellen, where are you? Give me Ellen and Superplex. I know, but y'all both want Adam and Sharon, so balance me out. I know my view on this is just can't help it. Here I'll pull myself back with another insightful and funny comment from Gary, who says, the thing is, Sharon is oversexed. And you know that if Adam had kissed her after he woke up from his nap, she would have just started making out with him back. Just totally making out. Yes, that's the thing. Okay, so Adam has his whole trauma. He goes off to take a nap on the bench. And if he would have woke up and just like in a state of I don't know, fogginess, just came up for air and his lips landed on Sharon's, she just would have kept going with it. She wouldn't have turned it away. She'd have kept kissing him. Maybe one of them would have come to 5 minutes later. That's the thing, is Sharon can't say no, and she's not going to. I'm not saying that Adam and Sharon don't have potential to be hot. There's a ton of chemistry there, but I don't like feeling that it's because the actors are together. I wish I didn't know that. That's why I don't like knowing anything about the actors' personal lives. I don't want that information. Because now I can't help but let it inform how I watch the show and how I interpret the story. To me, it just feels like they're shoving Adam and Sharon together because they could show them being together. And I don't know. I don't like that about it, and I don't like the way it's being done. I am not fundamentally opposed to Adam and Sharon. I just wish they could have found a better way to do it. let's talk about a different topic, sorta. On from Adam and Sharon to talking about Adam and Victoria. Daisy says, Victoria doesn't have to like Adam, but to leak what happened when he was a boy is reprehensible. I don't see how this information will make her look like a strong CEO, nor will it in any way protect the company. It'll likely have the opposite effect. Victoria selling parts of Newman's off and betraying her family, that will likely look bad on her. I can't imagine the board having any confidence in her after this. Victoria deserves to be removed as CEO at this point, and much to her chagrin, the guilt-ridden Victor may just put Adam in that position yet again. Oh, that might be the case. Yeah, it is an interesting point that what Victoria is doing, she says she thinks it's not going to be traced back to her. She's leaking the story to Billy, but it's actually really obvious that she would have been the one to tell him. And so when all of that comes to light, doesn't it ultimately hurt Newman Enterprises? Doesn't that ultimately hurt her from looking like a strong CEO? I guess she just doesn't care. Maybe it's just a revenge against Victor at all costs, but I don't know. It seems below the belt to me. It seems below the belt to play on someone's childhood trauma and this horrible thing that happened to Adam. That just doesn't seem right. And yet, the majority of people approve of Victoria, give her their approval rating. Victoria says, I approve of Victoria. I approve of her taking a stand and showing the Newmans that she has a vision all on her own. And I would love to see Victoria handle the trauma from her attack in a healthy way and get back to her fun side while becoming more powerful. It would be such a nice spin for her to reward those who helped her succeed at Newman. Her success should culminate in a stunning portrait of herself on the Newman wall. Box up daddies and send it home. I think that's what it is, Victoria. I think that the majority of people approve of Victoria making decisions and wheeling and dealing and earning her portrait on the wall. But then there's just this icky little side gig that she's got going on with leaking the story to Billy. That's what makes it goo. I'm all for her being empowered at Newman Enterprises and embracing the role. And I like your idea of letting her, reward those people who help her succeed at Newman. Yeah, it would be great if Victoria was this awesome, positive female business example. Just all of the whole side jaunt about AJ Montalvo has been a little iffy, probably since the beginning, really. It's been a little bit of a leap since the beginning, and now it does feel like they're piecing some of it together. Kamna says, would Victoria have done what she did at another time? Probably not, but it's her right to do what she did, absolutely. Time to see a strong woman take over at Newman. She's going to prove that she is, in fact, just as cold as Victor. Yeah, I think most people, we agree on Victoria making her decisions at Newman, but then late in the week is when she leaked that story to Billy, and I wonder if that affected the poll results. I wonder if I would have done that poll this week instead, if the results would have been different. Sherrod says, I gave her an approval rating because after all the crap she was put through and always standing by Victor, he didn't even respect her enough to tell her what was really happening. Also, she's still dealing with the aftermath of the traumatic effects from the stabbing. I think Victoria is just trying to get some control in her life. Oh, yeah. You know what, though? Okay, let me ask you this. Would it be okay if Adam would have leaked the story about Victoria getting abused by JT, and then in self-defense, Nikki whacks JT over the head and they all do that whole cover-up? What if Adam leaked that story to the press? I mean, that would be bad. I think that what Victoria is doing is equally as bad as that. Yeah, but I mean, I agree. Victoria's beef is with Victor and Adam, and I understand why she would want the revenge on Victor, and I understand why she would want the revenge on Adam. It's just, I don't think, it almost feels like, in a way, the Adam part of it is Victoria seeking revenge by using this 11-year-old boy. In a way, she's not hurting the the man who took over her CEO position and who she's had all this feud with all these years. In a way, it's like she's taking on this child, the child in Adam that was traumatized, and maybe that's what makes it feel more icky. I don't know. Colleen says, I'm noticing a change in Victoria's character. She's softer, funnier, more sure of herself. I like it. I know. See, I felt that way too when she did the press conference. I was like, all right. I mean, maybe not softer, maybe not funnier, but she did the press conference. And then in the New Hope Clinic, that's probably the scene that you're referring to. In the New Hope Clinic, she was softer and she seemed a little more human. Like, those were good scenes. And then she turns around and leaks this story and it's just out for blood. Ellen says, okay, Victoria in charge at Newman, making sensible business decisions. Victoria with Billy deciding to give up her anger about how he let her down as a husband. I might kind of like this Victoria. But she should leave her retirement age mother, who has MS, out of her business drama. I guess they just needed to pull another character into the Newman Enterprises story, and they didn't want it to be Nick. Nicky makes no sense to me. Oh well, let's see if the writers have mapped out a real story here. Oh, I'm sure that they have not. But wouldn't it be wonderful if Nicky working at Newman Enterprises was in any way about Nicky? That'd be great. I mentioned at the website too, it does seem that Melody Thomas Scott's book is out, and all of the majority of the Amazon reviews that I saw were very positive about it. I am looking forward to reading her book. I will read her book. But I got my fur poncho in the mail this week, and it looks fabulous on me, so I don't regret a thing. I will pick up Melody Thomas Scott's book a little bit down the road. But and then I flip back and I think to myself, okay, I could have the book. I would like to have the book, but I bet it would be great to listen to the audio. A couple people have mentioned to me that I should do the audiobook of Eric Braden's book because he's actually speaking it. But I noticed that there was an audiobook version of Melody's book too. And I don't know, I assume she reads it, and that would be wonderful to hear. I want both. I want it all. Oh, let's switch a little bit here over to Superplex, who says, let's stop this naughty versus stern schoolmarm act. It's time that Billy and Lily get it on. Oh, naughty versus schoolmarm. Billy versus Lily. Just get it on, Superplex says. See that? And then, yeah, that whole triangle. Nate and Elena, Devon and Amanda, tossing Billy in there, tossing Lily in there. I don't know how these couples are going to shake out. Again, the only thing that cannot happen is Lily with either Nate or Devon, but she could certainly end up snagging up Billy. Of course, you know what I'm still holding out hope for. I have a vision for Lily, and it's not too different from my old vision for Lily. But I mean, because she's working at Chancecom, doing a good job, but eventually she's going to have to do something else. Victoria says, I'm so glad to hear that Alyssa will be back. She was terrific during her storyline about her father's death. I hope they make her a regular at Chancecom Media. Her passion would work well, creating havoc with Billy and Theo. Yeah, I know. Alyssa is sassy. I loved her. I thought she was great. Now, I didn't get the impression that she was necessarily going to be back on a longer term basis. In my mind, I thought, oh, Billy's probably just next week going to go pay a visit to Alyssa to confirm the story. I mean, basically, Lily has told Billy that in order to run this story, he has to have some tight sources. He has to get, his ducks in a row, or she's not going to approve it running. So my guess is that the person that Billy's going to go to is Alyssa. She gave away all of her supporting evidence. Remember, she gave it to Adam, and then Adam destroyed it or whatever he did, and that's why she got mad at Adam. He totally backstabbed her in that way. So, and maybe it's possible that Alyssa is still holding on to some little piece of evidence, but again, I presumed that Alyssa would just be there for maybe 1 or 2 episodes. I think it would be great to see her a little more. She's spunky. She's got all the everythings. She'd be a fun little match for Mariah, maybe even, or unless they're too similar. They both seem kind of a little spunky. They're spunky curly hair girls. Daisy says, I don't see how Billy would think that releasing a story about an 11-year-old child would be anything but tabloid fodder. There are likely privacy protections for children who may have done something wrong, regardless of how old the person is now. And there's also no proof or witness that anything was premeditated. It was more of an accident when child Adam was trying to protect his mother against a grown man. I'm guessing, if anything, it would have been involuntary manslaughter. That's the whole essence of this whole thing, though, Daisy. It's like Victoria told Billy about this to get at Victor. But at the end of the day, it doesn't get at Victor as much as it gets at an 11-year-old Adam. It's not even adult Adam. There's going to be no repercussions for adult Adam. He's not going to jail. Like you said, there's no evidence. And involuntary manslaughter would be the top. All it does is expose this horrible trauma that happened to an 11-year-old child. It's not a good look on Victoria, and it's not going to be a good look on Billy. And frankly, I'm kind of surprised that Lily agreed to it at all. I don't know. And that's the thing. They're all hot to trot about how this is going to bring clicks to their website, but are they good clicks? Is that really the kind of attention that you want to have? I don't know. How about a different topic? Ellen says, wow, what a contrast between the Abbotts and the Newmans. Jack tells Tracy that he needs to stop blaming Dina, take responsibility for his choices in life, and best of all, that he doesn't want to be so alone anymore. Yes to all of that, Jackie. On the other hand, Phyllis suggests that Nick can resolve his lifelong family issues by having sex. No one in your family needs you, Nick. Forget about them. Bury it all. Sure, that will work. Not. Maybe Phyllis and Nick really do belong together. Oh, yeah, that was a strange scene between Nick and Phyllis. And also the confrontation that Nick had with Victor at Society this week. I don't know, to tell you the truth, I don't really care what Nick thinks about Victor and or Adam at this point. He is such a non-factor in all of this, and I think that you're right, Ellen, when you said earlier that Y&R put Nikki in at Newman Enterprises just so they didn't need to put Nick into it. I mean, he's just, he doesn't even count, and so therefore it's like, it's his opinion, him going around opinioning about it all over town means very little to me. I mean, I like Nick, don't get me wrong, but it's just, I didn't need to see him exerting his opinion when he's not having any action on any of it. I think Nick either needs to jump into the fight right along with everybody else, or he needs to stay out of it entirely. But stop riding the line, just walking around telling everybody else what to do. See, that's the thing, is if Nick's not going to be involved in this fight, fine. But we need to redirect him. We need to give Nick something else to do instead. Just walking around proselytizing is not, you know, it's not interesting. Nick needs a plot. Nick needs a story. Why not make him a partner in the hotel with Phyllis if mostly what he's going to be doing is hanging out at the hotel having sex with Phyllis? At least let him collaborate with her and come up with the idea for a guys club in addition to balance out her girls club. That keeps Nick in a fun place, like Abby keeps him out of the drama, and he can be there to listen and support his sister and his mother, but to make a conscious decision that he's gonna take the higher road. If he doesn't agree with the tactics that are there, then don't participate in the tactics. Sherrod says, I kind of agree with what Phyllis was telling Nick. Sometimes you do need to just take care of yourself and stop trying to be your family's keeper. And yes, that is exactly what Y&R plans to do. Oh, I mean, amen to that, Sherrod, for sure, for sure. Nick can't be held responsible for what everybody else is doing. And yeah, I agree. I know that there is a certain point where it's like, your family's so messed up and causes you so much misery that there are points where you have to decide, again, you make the choice that this is not worth it for me. Holding on to this has become unhealthy for me. A lot of people do that, and they choose to step away from their dysfunctional families, and that is totally okay. I just wish that Nick would pick one or the other. I think that I personally would rather see Nick get something new, do something new. Y&R really botched a good idea that they had with making Nick a politician. That would have been something new. It would have put Nick into the story in a different way, where maybe he had his political career to think about, or maybe, you know, that would have caused him some public humiliation or something. Like, if Nick had to be a politician and had to get out in front and be the face of the Newman family while all this drama is going on, there's so much, it's rife for more story right there. But since Y&R blew that, maybe a hotel partnership with Phyllis would at least play up the real estate part of his business. That's what he kind of is now, Mr. Real Estate. Then why not partner him up with a hotel? Well, Gary says, Phyllis's Grand Phoenix Tea Party for the two works for me. But how goofy is Phyllis going to be to create, how goofy is it for Phyllis to create an individual fantasy for the hotel guests and new concepts for the hotel? This idea screams burnout. After she's quickly put herself out there for every female in town, where does she go from there? And Ellen says, I'm not sure I get it either. It seems to be a club that women pay to join. And what? Anytime a member wants a personally designed experience, she just makes a reservation and Phyllis has to come up with something new every single time? Yeah, I know. I was wondering that too. I like the way the Escape Club works itself into the show, but in a purely like realistic sense, it's ridiculous to think that Phyllis would be able to keep this up. I mean, she's getting clients who she doesn't know. How is she going to personalize experiences for people she doesn't know? And what if somebody's not happy with it? I mean, in a real way, it's kind of a strange concept if it were reality, but in terms of the show, I still think it's fun. Ambrini thinks it's the worst name ever, Escape Club. It sounds like a strip club as well. Also, Y&R already did this. NVP Retreats, much better name, remember? I think a better name would be The Grand Escape or Phoenix Rising. The name Phyllis picked is way too long and lame. If this is Phyllis's new idea, I hope it fails. Y&R needs a gym or something where people can hang out. Or better yet, give Phyllis an actual place to live. I agree on the name. It's not a great name. It reminds me of an escape room. When I hear Escape Club, I think escape room, and then I immediately feel panicky. Like I need to get the heck out of here. Oh gosh, I have one more comment from Gary this week, but I like this. Gary asks, why can't Y&R have a few on-set extras for atmosphere in the restaurants? Talk about social distancing. The extras are most definitely always social distanced from the actors. They're always in the background, and I just think once in a while that we need to have a few extras to fill out a scene. Yeah, I was noticing that too. Yeah, it's becoming more noticeable for sure that there are no other people in the scene. And you make a good point that it wouldn't be too hard to maybe show somebody walking outside the corridor, like at Society. Maybe just have somebody walk down the corridor and you get that sense that someone is, walking on that pathway. But, you also mentioned that it probably does also have to do not just with how many people are on set, but how many people are entering into Studio City. Because I did look up just now the outbreak that happened at Studio City to get a little more info on that. So it was reported that there was an outbreak, and what I found was it was actually 3 people And CBS released a statement saying that it was 3 people who accessed the studios were found positive with COVID-19. So, I mean, that 3 people who had access to the studios, it could have been anybody. Could have been the caterers, could have been the maintenance staff, anybody. Just please, please, God, don't ever let it be Eric Braden. Please, please, God, don't let it be Eric Braden. I'd have to throw myself on the casket. Ooh, well, this was a long Y&R chat. It's been a long time since I've seen my little camera battery flashing red at me saying, "You're running out of time. You're running out of time. Wrap it up, Gabby." Gabby Alley. Okay, then that's what I will do, camera. Well, before I go, I wanted to tell you guys that you should go to yrchat.com too. Leave your comments because I do love hearing from you. Hope you enjoyed a little bit of an extra long Y&R chat and that you come back next week to see me. I love you guys and I will see you next time. Bye.